All right. It's Thursday again. Welcome to Pete Monfre Tells the Truth, where every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central, right here on LinkedIn, I take on the marketing industry, and then I do something almost unheard of in this sordid world of marketing. We tell the truth here on Tell the Truth, hence the name. I want to help you make better decisions and turn your marketing efforts from a cost center into a profit center. Who am I? I'm glad you asked. I'm a B2B senior marketing strategist, which just means that my hair is thinning. I've been continually doing this work for 32 years. And these fancy media outlets wrote a bunch of $10 words about me at some point. And you can learn more about that. We'll put some links in the comments if you want to check it out. And so today's topic, how to triple your pricing. Believe it or not, it's all about perception, and it's about having a clear position in the marketplace. That's what we're going to talk about today, is positioning. And positioning really is all about differentiation, how you can separate yourself from the pack, demonstrate more value, and hopefully win more than your fair share of deals. So, if I had a nickel for every time I came across a company that couldn't articulate, why they're different and better than a million other companies just like them, I'd have $97,862.15 or so, give or take. You know, Back in the day, we used to call these companies, and maybe we still do, I don't know, but we call them Me Too companies, right? Where they're commodities. You could take their logo off their website, put some other company's logo on there, and everything would still work. It's really a problem for B2B service companies, and I know this because that's really what I've been doing my entire adult life. We sell really what essentially doesn't exist yet, right? It's an intangible service, or sometimes there's intangible products. And a lot of the times the buyer believes that they can get these same services somewhere else, and it's going to be the same no matter who they choose. Okay, they believe that. Now, they would be wrong, right? Right, wrong. They would be wrong, right? This is probably true if you're buying desks and paper clips or Toyotas, but it doesn't work for buying services. So if perception is reality and the customer perceives that you're a commodity, then that's what you are. And the problem with commodities is there's really only one thing left to evaluate your offering, and that's price, right? If everything else is the same, if this Toyota is the same as that Toyota, doesn't matter what dealer that I buy it from. That's why buying cars is so much about price, right? And do you want the conversation about your services to be all about price, or do you want it to be about value, right? And so that's where the positioning strategy comes in, and something called a positioning statement. But think about it. Are you getting a lot of price pressure? Do you feel like, are you really different from all the other options that the customer has, including doing nothing? I've actually met a lot of people that swear up and down they have no competitors. I guarantee you have competitors, all right? You probably have, a lot of companies, especially in the service industry, like professional services, consulting, design firms, any of the creative services companies, digital agencies. It's just a huge fragmented mess of a world, and it's really hard to find your quintessential uniqueness. And if you don't find it, you're really going to be regulated to sort of the bottom of the barrel of pricing, right? If you can't articulate a clear position in the market, which is kind of a combination of value prop and differentiation statement, you're going to be at the bottom of the pricing barrel, right? If I'm looking for a website and I think I can get the same website from GSD&M that I would get from just having my virtual assistant in Peru do it, what's the criteria? How do I choose one over the other? There's only one thing left, right? And so you don't want that. And the way out of that trap, and for many companies that are fighting the pricing battles, right? And or maybe they're even winning a lot of deals, but they're not really making very much money because they think their price needs to be really low. Like that's the thing that is their main quintessential uniqueness, is they're a low price leader, right? I don't want to be that. I don't think you want to be that. So I'm going to show you in today's episode. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And also I have a workshop coming up on this topic to help you differentiate your company so that to the point where you tip the tables competitively so far in your direction, you can literally triple your price. I've done it. I've done it several times. I've done it for a lot of different clients. It's really kind of unbelievable how ingrained pricing is in most of our minds. I think people tend to underprice their underpriced services. And so I guarantee you, if you get this right, and there's a way to get it right, it really can change everything. So, and if your fixed costs are kind of stable, right, that extra 2x is profit. So think about that for a minute. So this positioning strategy, and we're gonna get more specific here in a minute, it should be at the center of everything that you do, your company does. If you don't know what a positioning strategy is, or you're struggling with communicating what makes you different and why you're worth the price that you charge, you're going to want to stay tuned. And you probably want to take my workshop coming up September 29th. So I'm going to try to help you get this right so you can reap the massive advantages of having a solid position in the marketplace. Now, to get it right, you're going to have to know a couple things: who your customers are and what keeps them up at night. And also, you're going to need to have some competitive intelligence, right? You're going to need to look at a handful of your top competitors. It can be hard to figure out who they are sometimes, but you need to figure that out. And because you can't be different, different from what, right? If you don't know what the options are and what their message is and what ideas they're owning in the marketplace, especially companies that are very dominant in your industry, the big players, what ideas do they own in the marketplace? You need to be different from that, right? You want to be the uncola to the real thing. And so that's why it's so important. And if you do this really well and you execute it really well, if you're in a competitive situation, let's say with 3 other companies, you can actually position your company so that the prospect or the buyer can't even compare, right? To me, that's the ideal outcome, is you have a prospect that says, this one is so clearly superior that not only are we going to pay more for it, but I can't even really compare it to these other options. So, your positioning is really like your superpower, right? It gives you kind of an unfair advantage, so you can win more than your fair share of deals. One of the companies the types of industries that come to mind is that's really commoditized. Think about this: it's web development, right? In 2022. Now, I've been doing web development. Our company has since about 1995, somewhere in there, 94. And so we've watched this happen. And today you can find people to build websites all day long at price points from basically zero, which would be like your niece, to as much as you want to pay, right? Today's website customer, they have at least 1 million choices, including doing it themselves, right? And they think that it's all going to work out the same, but it's become a commoditized, very fragmented market. There's tens of thousands of Me Too companies, maybe millions. I don't know. I haven't counted them. But one thing I've noticed, and this is also like trade companies, roofing companies, a lot, consulting firms do this a lot. They all say the same things. They do the same things. They look the same way, and they claim all of the same claims. All right. So they're commoditizing themselves, really. And part of it is because it sometimes can be difficult to find out what really makes you unique. Because chances are you are pretty similar to your competition, but there's things that you can do about that and still have a very clear position in the market. So let me show you a couple of slides really quick from my upcoming workshop. So positioning happens in the mind of the customer. The idea, this book was really the treatise, I think, on the topic, and it's It's by Al Reese and Jack Trout, The New Positioning, How to Be Seen and Heard in an Overcrowded Marketplace. It used to also be called, well, I see it also says The Battle for Your Mind. It's changed its name a few times over the years, slightly, but great book, highly recommend it. Grab it on Amazon. It's a short book too, and it will really change the way that you look at how you compete. So what's a positioning statement, and how is it different from a mission statement or a value prop? All right, we're going to cover a little bit about how to write a good one, and the alignment triangle, the three things that need to come together in order to make it work. So, and we're going to do it in just a few minutes. It's awesome how fast we do these things on Tell the Truth. But first, this first thing, how is it different from a mission statement, value proposition? So a value proposition explains what benefits your product provides to your customers. It's used as part of the positioning statement, but it's really about kind of just what it sounds like. It's the core of what your value proposition is, how you bring value. A mission statement is sort of a public-facing tagline or a statement, usually a statement identifying your brand strategy and how you want to be perceived, right? And that's kind of in the positioning statement too. The positioning statement is actually used to align internally. It's not a externally facing statement. It's usually about 2 sentences. Sometimes you can use them externally if they're in certain types of formats, but generally they're not. They're really just internal. They bring the value prop, the mission, and what makes you different all together in a big super whammy double punch. And it helps you guide your strategy over time. Because you can refer back to this, say, hey, does this fit our position, the position that we want, the position that we're going for, and so there's a process doing this, and you need some information to get that process right. And usually that means doing some customer research and doing competitive research. That's how you're going to figure out what's your strongest suit, like what is your we call it the quintessential uniqueness, your superpower against your competitors. So all of this goes on in the mind. Here's our customer, and there's a lot of things on his mind, right? He's got different categories in his head for different things. We've got best beer, tastiest donut, biggest taco, and coolest band, and also a little bit of Marge. Little Marge right there, the smallest piece. In Homer's mind, their Duff owns the best beer category. When he thinks of beer, he thinks of Duff. Tastiest donut. When I think of donuts, I think of Dunkin' Donuts. No when's the last time I was at a Dunkin' Donuts? Decades. I don't know. I don't eat donuts, but I still think of Dunkin' Donuts. The biggest taco. I don't know what that is. But so a position is an idea that you own in the mind of the market. So if you look at the market as a collection of people's minds, and then the market has its own mind, it's sort of a hive mind. Do you own a specific idea? Are you the company that's known for ridiculous service? Are you the company known for accuracy? Are you what are you known for? Or is more commonly, are you not really known for anything? It's a little hard to figure out, hard to communicate. Is it specific, right? Is it different from competitors? Again, it's all about being different. Is it authentic? In other words, you can't really be successful if you try to pick a position that's not authentic to what you can deliver. Won't work. Are you communicating it? Okay, if you can have the greatest position, the most unique thing in the world, and if it just sits in a dark room and nobody knows about it, it doesn't matter. You have to communicate it concisely. And is it something that your customers care about? All right. So, in other words, is it relevant to your customers? This happens all the time, and I'm not talking about anyone specifically, but so often we position our companies according to what's important to us, right? We think maybe the way we write our code is very, very important. That's what makes us different. Well, buyers don't give a shit how you write your code. Okay, they're looking at it from a completely different place than you are, and you're probably missing the boat on that unless you've actually talked to your customers. And so, do they care deeply about it? So these three things, this triangle, is it authentic? Is it important to customers? Is it different from others in this that are basically other options to solve whatever the problem is the buyer's trying to solve, right? And so, really quick here, I want to look at one of these positioning statements. We'll look at Nike. And we do a lot more of this in the how to differentiate yourself workshop that we have a link to in the comments, and it's coming up September 29th. And so we're going to go, it's actually a two-part workshop series where we have an hour and a half, and then you have 2 weeks to go out and spy on your competitors, which is really a lot of fun. And then we come back for another hour and a half after that 2 weeks, and we put together your positioning statement. And so it is a roll up your sleeves workshop, and this is just tiny part of it. But Nike, for athletes in need of high quality, fashionable athletic wear. So who and what do they want? Nike provides customers with top performing sports apparel. That's their category, right? And their brand. And shoes made of the highest quality materials. So Nike's official positioning statement is centered around quality materials. I don't know if you think of that when you think of Nike. I think nowadays they're thought of as the slave labor company, but or maybe they're thought of as a the shoes of Michael Jordan. Who knows? But this is how they want to be perceived. This is the stake that they're putting in the ground, is highest quality materials, right? And so this is written, and it fits something by a guy named Jeffrey Moore who gave us a template for positions. A lot of different ways you can do these positioning statements. Like here's Tesla's, for example. The only stylish car that can go from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds without a drop of oil. That's brilliant. It tells you why they're different. It's fast and it's clean, right? And so that's their position. And but let me if we look at the Nike one, there's definitely there's a pattern here, a format, and what they're using is Jeffrey Moore's positioning statement format from a book called Crossing the Chasm. And so it starts off, and send me a direct message if you want me to send you this, and I'm happy to do it. You can also find it in his book called Crossing the Chasm, but it's the one that I like to use because it's the most comprehensive for the target customer who, and this is where the statement of need or opportunity, the product name, Nike, right, is an apparel company, sports apparel, whatever the heck it said, that, wait, what did it say? Top performing sports apparel and shoes, right? It's getting a little long, guys. That statement of key benefit, the compelling reason to buy. Let's see if they actually have one. Nike's missing that part, and that's interesting. Maybe it just got cut, but that is important. Why should they choose you? That unlike the primary competitive alternative, and then a statement of primary differentiation. So usually when we do these, they're actually in 2 sentences. You could probably do one big long run-on sentence, but usually in 2 sentences you make the statement for whom, what problems you solve, who you are, what your category is, how, what's in it for the customer, right? And then a second sentence, unlike other agencies, statement of primary differentiation. For Clarity Marketing Support, it would be experience. We have 32 years of experience, and it's experience you can count on. So we talk about being the professionals of the business and that you can rely on us. And that's interesting if you think about it, because most marketing firms go to market and their positioning is we're really creative, right? Look at our portfolio. That is important. I'll put our work up against anybody's in the world. But if we talk to our customers, heaven forbid, we do, it turns out that they need, if you don't have good work, you're not even at the table, right? It goes beyond that. They need somebody they can count on, and they need experience. And so there's not very many people that have been doing the same thing, marketing strategy, for 32 years. Not very many. I know a few, but anyway, that's today's little lesson with slides. And yeah, that's our theme. That's the theme we've been playing with lately, by Ray Charles. That seems to have a mind of its own. It just comes on and off as it pleases, for some reason. But I love that tune. Isn't that cool? But we tell the truth here every Thursday on LinkedIn at 11 Central. So I've been talking a lot. Give me a minute here just to check my feed, and we'll see if there's anybody paying attention. You know, one of the things that drives me crazy is Restream puts their link in, and I don't really want that link in there, so I'm just taking that out. So this media strategy of making these videos, we're going to talk about that in an upcoming show. And we've got a friend of mine, Paul Fioravante, Fioravante. All right, I think I'm saying that right. And it's embarrassing because we're both from Sicilian roots, and we should definitely be able to pronounce that name. I'm just kind of blanking on it. Sorry about that, Paul. But he's going to be the guest next Thursday. I don't know what we're talking about yet, but it will be amazing because Paul is a very experienced consultant. He is a guy that totally gets what we talked about today. And maybe he'll even share a little bit of input on this crucial idea of positioning. And so, you know, Paul is a great example of the difference between the consultant in the crumpled suit who's, you know, at the bottom of the pricing structure to someone like Paul, who is a more of an elite advisor to companies. And you'll find out that he's pretty specialized in what he does. And so we'll talk more about that later. But I hope this brought you some value. You need to understand what your positioning strategy is. And the way you do that is you really get to know your customers well. You take a good hard look at what is real and what is true. Don't believe your own PR. Like, what is your authentic, quintessential uniqueness? And how do you frame that so that it is different from competitors who in reality are probably very similar, right? And if you're saying things like, we have the best service, we have the, you know, the best team, we have the best products. If it's something preceded by the word best, you're probably not getting it right. You know, if you really start looking at your competitors, you're going to find out that it's a sea of sameness out there, and you may be accidentally being a Me Too company because you haven't thought through and you haven't gone through a process to transcend sort of the superficial things that are a given in today's marketplace. I mean, really, your best service, I mean, isn't great service sort of what you need to be at the table? I know it's sometimes rare, but to me, that's a basic thing. And in fact, in online retail, when it comes to service, I would say Amazon probably owns that idea. You know, they're just known, they're one-click ordering, their return policy, right? Apple, actually, that's definitely part of their positioning, is they really support their products really well. And so it's just such an important topic, and I wanted to highlight it today. And again, we'll be, you know, if you're interested in the topic, check out the link to the workshop that's coming up. And it's a live workshop in 2 parts. And so you'll have, I'm actually going to show you in this workshop how we do competitive intelligence. So our firm does competitive intelligence as one of the things that we do to create marketing plans. And just using Google and some really good Google Foo, which we'll share with you too. We have a Google Foo cheat sheet, I believe that's part of the workshop. And you can really, that's a really powerful tool to find information. And so we have a process, I think there's 32 different things, where you can look at a competitor and you can use Google and you can find almost anything about your competitors. You can find their marketing plans. You can look at the experience of their marketing people. You can look at their messaging. Their own website is usually a host of information, but there's other things out there. There was a time we were doing research and I actually found a competitor's complete marketing plan in PDF format. As a consultant, I think it would be a breach of ethics to give that plan to my client, but I can tell you it did inform my suggestions and my advice. But it is incredible what you can find out there, and you can figure out what your competitor's strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and you can triangulate this. Remember the triangle between what's real and what you can deliver, and what makes you different in your marketplace. Now, you need to define your marketplace, right? Is it the world? Is it the United States? Is it your town? Whatever it is, who are the players, right? Where do you fit? Is there something that you are doing that is different, or is there something that you can do to be different? In other words, there are strategies to take intangible services that are essentially the same, but still create the perception around them that they are very, very valuable. And then you have to deliver on that perception. So it's not as easy as it sounds. But if it's authentic and you can do it, you can always frame what you do as unique, but you need to follow some kind of process. We talk about process a lot on the program. And it's really because it's the answer to most of the things that are really challenging you when it comes to marketing. So if you're not using some kind of deliberate process, in this case today, the process of developing a positioning statement and understanding what makes you competitive and all that, it's just a process you can go through. And if you don't know how to do it, there's lots of people out there, people like me, who can help you do that, or you can definitely do it yourself. I'm going to teach that in the workshop. It's not a mystery, and it's not difficult either. All right, you just have to kind of understand the lay of the land and how to use some tools, and you can do this stuff. All right, so hope you enjoy the program, and I'm gonna go onto the post roll and sign off here. And I honestly have no idea if the music is going to roll or not. Does anybody want to bet? Because let's find out. So join us next Thursday and every Thursday at 11 o'clock on LinkedIn Live. And we talk about marketing stuff. We help you make better decisions. We want to turn your marketing from a cost center into a profit center. So toodaloo, signing off. Pete Monfre here. See you next week.